Hi, this is Travis with another video for you guys. So today's going to be an update on an older video. I'm going to review some of the exercises that I went over in the last tricep video with the bands, but then I've got some other cool ones that are more calisthenic based that don't use any bands at the end. And I'll be finishing with a little bit of a superset, so hang around for that and I'll show you guys how to pair some of this stuff together to really get after those muscles called the triceps. So let's go ahead and get into this thing for those of you who want to get started, and I'll give my 2 cents at the end. Okay, so the first exercise I want to show you guys, I've just hooked up some of these fat grips, Superbands. This is just a big loop, and as usual, I'll put all the links to the bands I use at the bottom. But all I'm going to do, and you don't necessarily have to use these handles either, it just kind of makes it nice with your hands, is throw this guy around the top of your shoulders, and then you always want to point the ends of this thing away from you if you're going to use the handles, because sometimes these things will open up on you a little bit, okay? You want to get it more, not totally on your neck, but kind of more on the broad part of the shoulder, more like it's a pair of suspenders almost if you can. And then from there, you're just going to push this guy straight down, okay? And so that's going to be essentially your tricep press down type exercise that you might do at a gym with a rope. And this is just a really nice way to dial in the triceps. And the cool thing with the band is you get a little more tension to the bottom than the top, whereas if you're using a cable, it's going to be more constant all the way through. But this just really gives you that kind of lockout strength and really nice job recruiting the triceps, okay? And if you want to emphasize one side at a time, you certainly can do that as well. So you can just go ahead and do one side, and then, once that side runs out of gas, go ahead and switch. And for any of you that might have a weakness on one side, typically you want to use a few extra reps on that weak side, or even an extra set or two on that weak side, depending on how significant it is. But that's a great exercise for the triceps. Okay, so the next exercise I want to show you guys is one that's traditionally called a skull crusher or a nose breaker. And I'll show you guys how to simulate that with the same band I used a moment ago and one of these rollers. So all you're going to do is take that roller and put it on top of your band. And you just lay on the roller, sort of like I showed in that posture video. Okay, only this time you're going to take this band now, again, open ends away from you in each hand. Once you've got this thing in place, and you set your arms up in the same position like you're going to do a skull crusher, and just straighten those arms, okay? So traditionally, you can have your elbows pointed straight upward at the ceiling, or sometimes slightly back to put a little more stress on that long head of the tricep. And then from there, just try to leave it in the same spot, and just extend those elbows. And so this is just another one that really dials it in the triceps. For this one, I tend to recommend just doing both together. This one doesn't tend to lend itself to one at a time quite as well, but I think it does a really nice job hitting the triceps. And so depending on how you're doing it, I wouldn't go terribly heavy on this one. You want to do something that you're comfortable maybe getting into that at least 10 to 15 rep range, because this one can be sometimes a little harder on the elbows. But the cool thing is, and especially if your triceps are already a little fatigued from some other exercises, is just to kind of go in and do these continuous style reps. So you don't really give it much of a rest at the top or the bottom of the movement, okay? And pretty soon you'll definitely start to notice those triceps are running out of gas. So there's definitely a reason why that exercise has hung around for a while. Traditionally, again, it's done on one of those cambered bars in the gym, but it's essentially been around for practically as long as bodybuilding has, and it's just because it does a great job dialing in those triceps. Okay, so another great exercise for the triceps is an exercise called the floor press. And traditionally, this is a bench press that'll be done with a barbell. And usually you're gonna do this thing on your back. So traditionally, somebody would have a barbell in their hand, or sometimes even dumbbells. And they just do a partial range to kind of really work that top end to hit those elbow extensors, which again are your triceps. So if you happen to have a higher tension band, and I'm using a fairly thick one now, you wanna do something that's gonna be pretty challenging for you. You're gonna put this one behind your back, just like you would if you were doing a chest press. So definitely check out my chest press video if you have any questions about how to set this one up. Once you've got it in your hands, and then just punch that guy straight up until your elbows hit the ground and back down. And this really works that top end, and especially with the band. So this one just really dials in those triceps. Okay, so now I want to talk to you guys about some calisthenic, or what we call body weight exercises, because there's some pretty cool stuff you guys can do for those triceps that don't involve bands. And so an exercise I really like to do, and this one works pretty well as a finisher too, maybe at the end of a workout for those of you who are a little stronger, or certainly for those of you who are just getting started, this could be a standalone exercise. Down on all fours, almost like if I were on a tabletop about to do one of those bird dogs I showed before. I'll bring my hands just a little bit more forward though, And then from there, I kind of let my feet come up off the mat because I'm going to be kind of rocking on my knees. And then what I'm going to do is just lower myself down almost to where I touch my head, okay? And if you just do this, kind of like the skull crushers in that continuous style, this is just a great way to finish off the triceps. Now, for those of you who are a little more advanced, this is what I showed in the other tricep video. It's a similar variation, but it's going to put a little bit more demand on those triceps. And so what I'll do is I'll just take a foam roller and I'll wedge it against something like these hexagonal dumbbells so it doesn't run away on me. And then from there, you know, you could do this one on your knees as well, but it's going to make it a little bit easier. And so what I'll typically do is come up on my feet, okay? And then from there, go into that exercise, okay? And so same kind of thing, you know, this one might be a little harder for some of you. So you may want to do a brief pause at the top or the bottom, or again, you could kind of come in here and do those more continuous style reps as well. So this one is a little harder, so you may want to do this one as a standalone exercise, but certainly for those of you who are stronger, that's a really cool variation as well. You don't necessarily have to use the roller to do that standing version. I just like to use it because it's a little easier on the wrists. But you actually could do that one on the mat. So this is another cool exercise I've started to do a little more recently. And what you're gonna do is basically let your legs rest kind of heavily on the mat and put your hands either at your sides or slightly behind you. And push your hands down on the mat with your legs, you know, kind of push down into the floor. Rock back your elbows and then push up. And that's actually a much harder exercise than it looks. It's a closed chain position because your hands are fixed to the ground, which is just sort of a unique way to work your triceps. And what I like about this one is it actually works your core muscles pretty hard at the same time as well. So if your core is weak, it's going to put a higher demand on the triceps and vice versa. But for most of you, you're going to use a little bit of both. And I think it's just a nice way to finish off a tricep workout, also get some abs going. Now, for those of you who have elbow problems, if this bothers anybody, you know, it's not to say this is a critical exercise, but it is a really unique and pretty cool way to work the triceps if you can do it. And again, it's just nice because it works, you know, your core as well as the triceps at the same time. Okay, so just to give you guys some flavor for how you can combine some of these things in like a super, or what we call a compound set, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show some of the press-ups that I showed a moment ago, and then I'm gonna combine that immediately after by doing some of those body weight kind of skull crusher type movements. So I just come in here into that same position, okay? Lean back onto my elbows, press up. And I would just do that until I hit my desired number, or say I got a little tired, you know, whenever I kind of run out of gas. And I might not go until I'm absolutely out of gas, but I'll try to at least go until I hit my target number or gotten close to it. Once I'm there, then I flip around back into that kneeling skull crusher type position. And then off I go. And I would just do these. Again, I might do those continuous reps where I'm not really pausing and just try to finish this out for whatever I can manage. And then once I'm there, I would go ahead and take a break. So you can definitely apply those principles with the bands. You can do a body weight and then a band exercise combined. You know, there's a lot of different ways you can mix and match. As usual, I'll put all the links to the products I was using, like the bands at the bottom. Definitely subscribe if you like this stuff and comment. Let me know what you guys think. Something else you want to see or questions you have about particular exercises, definitely don't hesitate to let me know. And as always, I hope you guys have some fun.